television network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow, joined by Sully Crotty. Good morning, Sully.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Pretty good. Ready to look at a little stakes action from yesterday. Some nice stakes action across the country. We'll touch on all of that in a little while, and we'll also do a little handicapping towards the end of the program to look at a good day of racing on Sunday as well. We'll include a little preview of the La Virgenes out in Southern California, Dream Tree. Certainly looks like a 3-year-old filly to watch going forward. So we will touch on all of that a little bit later in the program. But I believe now, I think I hear in my ear, if I'm not mistaken, we are joined by somebody who had a nice day yesterday down in Southern Florida, trainer Mark Henning. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. I'm in here this morning with Sully Crotty, and we wanted to bring you on after yesterday's performance because certainly in the Swale, Strike Power looked pretty good, kind of validated that monster debut effort. Mark, we're going to, before we do that, let me just congratulate you also on, boy, you're having a spectacular Gulfstream meet.
Thank you. I mean, we're just very fortunate to have some nice young horses at the moment. You know how that goes. You got to have the horse.
And you've been lighting it up with the young horses, one of them being Strike Power, the career debut back on December 23rd, a 102 buyer, an easy win there. You always wonder, will they repeat when they step up? Well, you moved into the Swale yesterday. We're going to pick it up right out of the gate. Grade 3, 7 furlongs the trip. Luis Saez on board, and he really takes charge right from the get-go. Tell us a little bit, was that the strategy going in? I mean, given what you saw in the career debut, did you just say take off from the gate and play a little catch me if you can?
Well, we discussed basically that he had the good post to kind of evaluate after the break, but I think it was pretty much a no-brainer for Luis once they broke. He's just quick. I mean, his first step out of the gate is as quick as I've seen in a long time. On a consistent basis. So at that point, I think, Luis just kind of sat on him. And they didn't force the pace too much from the inside. We knew that the inside was where the real speed in the race would come from if it wasn't us. So, I think anytime you're on the outside and all the speed's down inside, it gives you a little bit of an edge to evaluate things once the gate's open.
Yeah, we're watching him come around the turn here, and nobody really gets up and challenges him at any point. It had to be a great feeling watching this. But I will say, this was a salty little field. The number 2 horse who's kind of chasing you early, Tricks to Do, came out of the nice win in the stakes race over at Tampa. I thought Diamond King in that last race at Laurel was really nice, and Diamond King's the number 1 horse who makes a nice move here that looks like going to get up in the second and then just gets snudged a little bit late by Gotta Go, and that one wind up running third. But you're clear chart margin of 2 3/4, and there just is never a real challenge in this race. Now, the one note coming down the stretch didn't change his lead. Is that something that's a concern going forward?
Well, if he's going to get to run 2 turns, he's going to need to make that adjustment. The interesting thing is if you go back and watch his first race, he didn't switch leads that day until right at the wire. So, it's possibly that, he's never been a problem in the morning. He always switches leads, but, maybe he's just one of those horses that's, sitting there waiting for the challenge and, hopefully when he's engaged at some point, he's gonna have to hit that lead on as needed.
There was a quote from you, I believe it was in the Racing Forum, one of the post-race quotes, where you kind of made that comment that he's just good enough and hasn't been challenged yet. Maybe he hasn't had to change his lead in his mind.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's always you wonder what makes a horse not do that. He was pretty pumped up yesterday.
Yeah.
I know it's not a physical reason. I think he's just he was pretty excited and like Luis said, I just didn't want to go messing with him too much. He was going along so nicely. He said, not broke, don't fix it. He was going smoothly. So.
Yeah, and that was only start number 2. People have to remember. And speaking of that, what's the game plan now? Are you going to look to stretch him out next time?
Well, I think, we discussed that last night over dinner, and I think, everybody's in agreement that we kind of need to see that through and, let him tell us whether we can keep going forward or whether we want to back up. I mean, he's got the strong distance pedigree on the bottom side and obviously Spitestown on the top. So it just remains to be seen. He relaxed nicely yesterday. He's a very relaxed horse all the time in the morning, so I don't know why he couldn't, other than he's just quick, and those kind of horses always at some point reach a limit in their distance.
Well, either way, you got the Woody Stevens and the King's Bishop sitting out there if you want to stay short, and you can always test
wouldn't
them.
be bad consolation.
Exactly. And I'm always curious, a horse like this from a trainer's point of view. I mean, he's clearly a special horse in that debut effort, a monster performance, follows it up with a stakes win. Do you know when you get a horse like this in the barn, or isn't it evident until they step out on the track and get in an actual race? But a special horse like this, do you get a feeling mentally or physically when they show up in your barn that you have something special?
Honestly, Seth, a lot of times that's the case with this particular horse. He's been a little more subtle about tipping his hand. He, like I said, if you work him in company in 50. You work him with a slow horse, he'll go slow. If you work him with a fast horse, he'll go fast. And that's kind of his mentality. The only time he finally tipped his hand was as we got closer to a race and we breezed him out of the gate a couple of times. That was when the light had really gone on for him and us, because, when those gates open, you could see he knows the difference between, just a routine day and a day out of the gate, in competition.
Yeah, he, again, 2 for 2 so far, and he's certainly known it was race day on those 2 days. Now, I will note, the career debut back on December 23rd, he was 12-1 that day. But I want to go back to last week, Mark, while we have you on the line, and talk about Cash. We were down at Gulfstream last week and saw this horse, and I must say, I did not get the word, but clearly it was out as Cash went off at 6-5. We're going to watch the stretch run here. Cash will be the number 2 horse. This is another first-time starter, and the formulator, Daily Racing Form formulator, has a Twitter feed, and they noted after this race, this was your 5th straight first-time starter winner. So a nice little streak there, with a quirky little streak, but Cash looking pretty good in the career debut as well. Fill us in on that one. Mark.
Yes, sir.
Fill us in a little bit on Cash.
Oh, well, we were definitely looking forward to running her. Put a stop to that streak yesterday, by the way, with Wisely in the 8th race. But the
can't go on forever.
But Cash, Cash is a filly that was always well met. I mean, we had her in actually last June, I believe it was, at Belmont, and she was the favorite that day going to the gate, and came up with an issue where she tied up a little bit. I think nerves got to her a little bit that day. She's a little bit of a nervous sort, but since then she's done well. She's settled in, and she's just one of those fillies that when you talked about a horse that turns you on right away when you saw them and they walk in the barn, that's her. She's just got a lot of class. And you can just see the potential. She glides along. It's her efficient stride is pretty fun to watch on a daily basis. 7
furlongs. It's always a quirky distance to debut at, but she did very well. And if it was correct, right afterwards or shortly afterwards on Twitter, I believe I saw a 102 buyer for Cash. What's the game plan next for her?
Actually, the 102 buyer was Strike Powers, but Cash, we haven't really pinned up down her next race. I mean, I would have ideally liked to stretch her out in an allowance race, but the new book came out, and I don't see one in there for her. So, we're going to have to sit down and figure it out. But she's she's a filly that I think has unlimited potential. We just, we need to go at the right pace for her.
All right, before we let you go, I wanted to go back to January 14th, watch another first-time starter get it done. Cipriana, she is going to be the number 10 horse as we watch the replay here. Buzz was also out a little bit on her as she went off at 3-2 that day. Wins by a chart margin of a length and a quarter. Fill us in on Cipriana.
Cipriana is, again, another very nice filly. It's honestly hard to separate the two fillies, Cipriana and Cash. Little different personalities and all, but otherwise, both have a shot to be any kind of horse. And Cipriana, I think we plan to stretch her out coming up soon, hopefully this week. And I think she's a very nice filly. I thought she, Cash is a filly. I was kind of looking to run more in the 7/8 first time, just because she was a little fitter than Cipriana. But I think Cipriana will stretch out nicely because she's just built like a two-turn horse.
And just before we let you go, all three of these homebreds from Cortland Farms. For folks who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about the owner, Cortland Farm.
It's Don Adam up in the farms in Ocala. Actually, Strike Power is a homebred, and the others are purchases.
Okay.
Ernie Redamosa, the farm manager, and my wife and I went to Keeneland, and Mr. Adam was kind enough to step up and buy the horses we liked, and fortunately, we picked out some decent horses.
All right, Strike Power, the homebred there. That's a nice one to have, though, with that on the moniker. Mark, appreciate the visit. You're taking your time to join us this morning. We'll be watching for these three and some of the others going forward. Again, congratulations yesterday. Nice performance by Strike Power.
All right, thank you, Seth. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot. Mark Henning, again, that was a nice performance yesterday by Strike Power in this whale. Career star number 2.
Yeah, and the opening, when the horse broke its mate and beat, horse 12-1. I loved the horse, and I knew Mark was on a little breaking. When he brings the horses out to mains, I knew he's been on fire throughout the year. So 12-1, I got a little excited with Louis Sias. So,
yeah.
And, yesterday's performance was definitely it was a nice one to see.
And as I say, that was a nice field. There was only a field of 6 in there, but there were some stakes winners. Again, Diamond King I thought was legitimate coming out of that Laurel race. Tricks to Do out of the stakes race at Tampa. Piven had shown some ability, winning a stake, a restricted stake, but a stake at Gulfstream in the previous start. So it was a nice field, and certainly one to build on. So again, Mark Henning got a little bit of a roll with, as he said, the streak was broken. That was first-time starters, particularly when you're talking Gulfstream in the winter in Florida, to have a string like that, 5 first-time starters winning. Pretty impressive down there. Mark, with a limited number of starters, I think he's Equibase. It looked like 5 for 13, I think, to start this Gulfstream meet. So it's a nice Gulfstream meet for Mark. Just wanted to go over, because I pulled up the NTRA, the first polls of the year. And at this time of the year, until we get through the Triple Crown, there are 2 polls. There's an overall thoroughbred poll, and then there is a 3-year-old poll. The 3-year-old poll just goes to the end of the Triple Crown. But just to give you an idea of what the voters in the NTRA poll are looking at this time of the year. And you would imagine certainly the 3-year-old poll probably has the potential to shake up a little bit after the weekend with some of the nice 3-year-old action we saw, and we'll get to some of those races also in a few. But the 3-year-old poll, Good Magic on top, Boltioro second, McKinsey third, Solomini fourth, Instilled Regard fifth. So they're your top 5. Catholic Boy 6. Catholic Boy's interesting to me. It's going to be fun to see what they do with him to start the 3-year-old season. Mask 7th. Mask got a little setback this past week. We'll see how he gets back. It looked like, from what I read, a couple of weeks on the sidelines. It's not enough to knock him off the trail, but anytime you're always to get to that Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown, the timing is very important. We're early enough that things can still happen. You can get back on track, but we'll keep our eyes on Mask. Frenzy Fire in the 8th spot. That may change this week. Enticed in the 9th spot, and Marino in the 10th spot there. So that was your 3-year-old poll that came out, and it comes out Monday, so tomorrow we'll update, and as I say, the 3-year-old poll probably will. The overall poll, I don't know whether we'll see much change. There was the nice race in Southern California, and we'll watch that in a little bit, so that may offer a little bit of a change, but no surprise, Gun Runner on top. And it'll be interesting to see, because Gun Runner now is obviously on the sidelines. It will probably be another month or two down the road, but at some point, as horses like West Coast put more wins on their resume, they'll jump over Gun Runner, and he'll tend to disappear from this. Obviously, he's going to wind up the year 1-for-1, but at this point, Gun Runner on top, West Coast second, World Approval third, Forever Unbridled fourth, Gunnevera fifth. Your bottom 5, number 6 is Abel Tasman, number 7 Roy H. We'll watch a nice season debut performance from him. Sharp Azteca 8th, Beach Patrol 9th, and Unique Bella 10th. Collected just missed, he's 11th. Good Magic number 12, Seeking the Soul and Stellar Wind 13 and 14, Oscar nominated 15. So no real surprises in the old, certainly not on top with Gun Runner.
Oh, no, not yet. And then, as you said, when West Coast, I think the plan is to go to Dubai, and then if he wins that, certainly, I think
West Coast,
he's gotta
another
go above.
win.
Yeah.
He'll jump over, he'll leapfrog, and a couple of these others, I suppose, have the opportunity to do that as well. But right now, it's probably a winning performance by West Coast that gets it done, because we are still early in the older division season. But as I say, there was a nice older division race out in Southern California. We'll watch that and some of the other stakes action from yesterday when we come back. Nice stakes action, some nice stakes in Gulfstream, the Withers in New York, and again, a series of stakes races out in Southern California as well. We'll touch on all of those a little bit later on, some handicapping for Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned. Racing Across America continues.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow, Sully Crotty. We're going to take a look at some of the Gulfstream Stakes action from yesterday. Before we do that, thanks to Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here, sponsoring this program, some of the other programming and events on the network. And Champions certainly potentially on display yesterday at Gulfstream Park. In the forward gal, 3-year-old fillies lined up in a Grade 3 event going 7 furlongs. So kind of the 3-year-old filly sprinter side of the game, potential there to stretch out. We talked with Kieran McLaughlin yesterday. He tipped his cap to Kelly Breen, who had this horse take Charge Paula through the early part of her career. Subsequently, the horse was sold, moved to the Kieran McLaughlin barn. Mentioned the nice January 19th bullet workout at Palm Meadows to Kieran. Kieran felt pretty confident, and understandably so, as we watched the stretch run. Number 4, Take Charge Paula. Maybe a little green. It can't be green after 6 starts already, but did go a little wide. I mean, at the top of the stretch, going wide, you thought, oh, is that going to open things up? But a couple of strides after the horse straightened out, you realize now Take Charge Paula has this one over a barrel. Wins by a chart margin of 3.5. As kind of a generous 5-2 favorite. Now, I will say, as a generous 5-2 favorite, I took Miss Momentum in here in my selections. Miss Momentum winds up a disappointing 6th as the 7-2 second choice. I thought Violent Times, the second-time starter, might be interesting. That one finishes last. Now, to my credit, I had Take Charge Paula in the 3rd spot, but my top 2 didn't do much running. But Take Charge Paula looked pretty good there. Really, as I say, sitting in a stalking position till the top of the stretch. Went a little wide, but once they straightened out, you knew it was all her race.
Yeah, like you said, watching the race live when the horse went wide, you thought, how is this horse going to hang on? The rail was wide open. Sultry made a little bit of a run and poked ahead, I think, momentarily right there in front. But just a good ride by Take Charge Paula. And when Paco straightened the horse out, as you said, it was over.
Yeah, it was certainly, a performance that sets this horse up nicely to move forward in the 3-year-old filly scene for Kieran and the new owner. So we'll see what they do because, again, this was 7 furlongs. All the races so far in the career, except for the Pocahontas, have been sprints. The Pocahontas mile and a 16th at Churchill and threw in a dud that day. Has the horse gotten better? I won't surprise me if they try 2 turns again. I mean, the 1-2 turn race wasn't much. Won't shock me, though, if they try 2 turns and at least give the horse a shot, with races like, obviously, the Kentucky Oaks sitting out there and the Alabama and the Coaching Club American Oaks. But they have the opportunity to pick their spots at the 3-year-old filly sprint level as well if that doesn't work out. But it was a pretty nice performance at the 7 furlongs yesterday. All right, let's move on. The Dania Beach followed up yesterday at Gulfstream Park. Our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds had Untamed Domain in there, the number 6 horse, coming out of the 2nd place finish in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Guido, the number 7 horse, however, will run 2nd, and the winner will be the number 1 Speed Franco. Untamed Domain, 3rd in the seasonal debut as the 6-5 favorite. The winner here, Jaramillo on board. Speed Franco just holds on, just gets up, let me put it that way, to win by a head. Guido, the number 7 horse, Todd Pletcher trainee, almost gets the win here. Now they were, the 2nd and 3rd choices. Yeah, it's 6-5 for Untamed Domain. The Pletcher horse that ran 2nd was 2-1 and 4-1 on the winner, Speed Franco. Speed Franco, first couple of starts of the career were pretty good. A couple of wins, a maiden breaker, and then went into a stakes race, the Pulpit. Followed that up last time, however, in the Kitten's Joy. Ran 6th, but it was not beaten that far by Flame Away, who was a nice one. So Speed Franco came in with some credentials, and the betting public obviously recognized that, making this the 3rd choice. But I say this a lot. This, to me, is a fun subdivision of 3-year-olds on the turf. At this time of the year, you also have to wonder if some of these won't go over and try the dirt as we get closer to the Triple Crown races. But I think this bodes well for, again, this subdivision of 3-year-olds on the turf. I think all 3 of the top finishers. Untamed Domain, again, it was the seasonal debut. We'll see how that one follows up from this. But certainly the top 2, nice ding-dong finish there, and they will be players in this subdivision. Both lightly raced. Speed Franco, only 3 starts coming in, and the Pletcher horse, only a couple of of starts coming in. So as I say, I think it bodes well for this subdivision of 3-year-olds on the turf.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Untamed Domain's going to be just fine, as you said. And Speed Franco, talking about the Kittens Joy last time out, was 6th by, I think, a length, right? So there was 6 horses up by the wire. So Speed Franco's definitely, a player on the turf. And as you said, I think Pletcher and Johnny B and Gadoo, they're going to be fine. And Untamed Domain's going to be fine. So they were clearly the 3 best in that race. And nice ride by Speed Franco.
Yeah, it was, again, a race that portends nicely for the 3-year-olds on the turf moving forward. And again, Speed Franco in that Kitten's Joy running 6th, a close 6th behind Flame Away. Flame Away, one that is worth watching in that subdivision as well. So maybe flattered that one a little bit also. The big race on the card yesterday at Gulfstream Park was the Holy Bull. Again, we had Kieran on yesterday. He wins with Take Charge Paula. We'll talk a little bit about success he had in New York in a couple of minutes. Unfortunately, Enticed, who came out of the win in the Kentucky Jockey Club back in November, making the seasonal debut. Enticed is going to be the number 1 horse here. Really never threatens. The chart has him sitting 5th and 4th virtually the entire trip. Winds up 4th as the 9-5 favorite. The other 3 choices, all at 3-1. Audible, Free Drop Billy, and Tiz Mischief run 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Audible's the number 4 horse. A clear winner for Todd Pletcher. Also notable, Audible, a New York bred. First couple of starts of the career were against New York breds. Went into Open Company and an optional claimer early in December up at Aqueduct and beat Open Company, and now goes into an Open Company stakes race. So again, another tip of the cap to the New York bred program. Audible getting it done in career start number 4 for Todd Pletcher and Windstar and China Horse Club. Free Drop Billy and Tiz Mischief, a couple of nice performers last year for Dale Romans. It was a chart margin of 5.5 from 1st to 2nd, 7 3/4 from 2nd to 3rd, and then open margins from 3rd to 4th where Enticed ran. So Audible clearly comes out of this with high marks. I think Free Drop Billy and Tiz Mischief also, they were a clear 2nd and a clear 3rd. But I think there was enough on the 2-year-old resume to think, okay, it was a seasonal debut. I want to see one more from those before I make decisions, really one way or the other. But the one that comes out of the race with the high marks is clearly Audible. Other than that, I think even Enticed in the 4th spot, let me see one more. Let me give them one more chance as a 3-year-old to see if maybe they needed a seasonal debut to move forward from.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Free Drop Billy, the horse had a nice year last year. And Audible, I think last time out, won by 5 lengths, I think, something like that at Aqueduct. So that horse is, as you said, a nice New York bred. You like seeing the New York breds do well. And the horse is a monster. We saw that yesterday in the Holy Bull. And, at 3-1, I thought that was a nice price because all the betting money went to Enticed. So I thought, if you got 3-1 on Free Drop Billy or Audible, that was a nice little betting race for those 2 there. But next time out, as you said, I don't think Audible is going to be close to that 3-1 price. And I think Free Drop Billy needs to run another race, just to see if the horse can handle the stacked 3-year-old division this year.
Audible comes out of it with a nice 99 buyer figure at this time of year for a 3-year-old. That's a legit figure. But of course, there is also the question mark. It's a Pletcher runner at Gulfstream this time of year. You always have question marks about those horses as how they will perform moving away from Gulfstream as the calendar progresses a little bit. But boy, this was certainly a nice performance yesterday from Audible. And again, nice feather in the cap of the New York bred program. All right, let's go to the 3-year-old action in New York yesterday. Again, mentioned it, had Kieran on, and we talked a little Avery Island. Avery Island does wind up to be the winner here. Kieran mentioned the California Night was going to be a scratch, and they felt pretty good about that because they thought that would allow them to sneak away early. It didn't quite work out that way because Colton, Mississippi was intent on the lead, got the lead, and Avery Island wound up kind of stalking early, taking the lead later on. And to me, it looked like they were all kind of just, struggling in the stretch is not right, but they were all kind of working to get to the wire. And so I wondered if Avery Island would hold, but turns out to be pretty gutsy and not only holds, but keeps them at a margin of a couple of lengths under the wire. Running second was Forenzi Fire. Marconi ran third. Avery Island comes out of this, okay. It was an 87 buyer figure, so passes the test of the seasonal 3-year-old debut. Forenzi Fire now, with the work he had to do in the Jerome and running second in here by a couple of lengths. I'm not writing him off by any means. I mean, it was a second place finish, but it was a clear second place finish. And as I say, the work he had to do last time and now a second place finish yesterday. Forenzi Fire is maybe losing a little bit of his luster, and we noted earlier the NTRA poll, I think he was sitting 8th. I'll be interested to see what the voters do with him, Forenzi Fire, this week.
Yeah, clearly I don't think he can be in the top 10 anymore, but Avery Island I think should get in there, but excuse me, but Mike Callahan calls this a prep of the prep for the wood, so yeah. It's going to be interesting to see, how Forenzi Fire rebounds after this. I don't think he ran a bad race. Just Avery Island, that was his day. He ran, I thought, a perfect race with the stalking rule, as you pointed out earlier in the replay. So, and it was a nice ride by Joe Bravo as well. So, all the connections at Avery Island, that's a nice win there in the Grade 3.
Yeah, and Kieran yesterday said the game plan was likely to go back to Florida with Avery Island, just because that allows more of a sure thing for training. You don't run into weather issues down there at Palm Meadows the way you might if you stuck around in New York. So this one likely headed back to Florida, and we'll see what the game plan will be with Enticed and Avery Island as far as next starts are concerned. I will mention also, we talked when I looked at the top 10, and I mentioned Catholic Boy. The win by Avery Island flatters Catholic Boy, because Catholic Boy finished in front of Avery Island last time in the Remsen.
Yeah, and we saw Catholic Boy in the Remsen and then up at Saratoga as well. And after the Saratoga race, I know you agree with me, but I've been high on Catholic Boy since we saw him up in Saratoga, and then we saw him Cigar Mile Day, and he looked very good that day as well.
He looked really good. Speaking of 3-year-old turf division, Catholic Boy, they have all kinds of options.
Yeah.
Things don't work out, they can go anywhere they want. Turf, dirt, but he'll be fun to watch this season as well. Again, being flattered by Avery Island. Also, Kieran made the great point. If you didn't see the show yesterday, I had never thought about it, but he kind of talked about it yesterday with me, and I read a Q&A earlier this week where he was talking about the Derby points races. They should all be equal weights, and he mentioned specifically, you look at the PPs for Avery Island. Avery Island wins the Nashua and then moves into the Remsen, and because of that, he has to pick up some weight, and so he was giving weight, actually, to Catholic Boy in the Remsen, and Kieran said, that the Remsen's a Derby points race, the Nashua wasn't, so I get penalized for racing and winning, and then I move into a Derby points race, and I kind of have to run it unequal weights. And I hadn't thought about it, but it was actually kind of a good point that, as he said, it used to be based on earnings in graded stakes races, so it wasn't quite as important necessarily. But now with this point system, which Kieran said overall works and has done a good job, but maybe they should think about tweaking it a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of the point system as well, but I think the weight should all be the same. If you're prepping, if the main thing is to go to the Derby, I think the weight should be the same throughout all the preps and all the point system races.
Yeah, if they're giving away the points that get you into the race, it was a good point. Worth thinking about, and maybe let them tweak it a little bit. All right, let's go out to Southern California. Nice stakes day out there. We had John White on yesterday talking about the stakes action, and one of the highlights of the day, maybe not betting wise, Gaselli made the great point. The 50-cent try in the Palos Verdes paid $1.30. So there wasn't necessarily a lot of money to be made with the 1-5 favorite, but anytime you can be in the first 3 days of February and get a champion to come back, and last week we saw Gun Runner, so it's been an interesting early part of the year. But Roy H. Made the seasonal debut in the Palos Verdes yesterday, the number 1 horse, and top of the stretch. He's right in the mix essentially, but you could tell just kind of sitting there, Kent DeSormo, waiting to ask, and when he asked, I think that the call was something like treats them with disdain. And interestingly, after the race, Kent Sormo was really, he said Roy H. may be the best sprinter he's ever ridden. And certainly, the performance yesterday and what we saw last year in a championship year was pretty good. But this was a nice kickoff to 2018.
Yeah, and just watching that replay again, watching it live was impressive. And watch the replay again. Kent didn't even move his arms. He had like 4 different, he had 4 more gears with that horse if he needed it. So you could just tell Roy H. is on a different level and was on a different level against that short field. And the field, Mongolian Saturdays won a couple stakes races, same with Americanized. So, as Roy H. is just on a completely different level, and we saw that at Delmar for the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, it was, again, a nice way to kick off the season, and nice for fans as well, or that early in the season to get a horse like that back and running. The 3-year-olds were in action in the Bob Lewis. Talked with Jeremy Plonk yesterday, and looking at the 3-year-old races, the Swale, the Holy Bull, the Withers, and the Bob Lewis. I think Jeremy Plonk, who does the countdown to the Crown package, looking at the 3-year-old season for horseplayernow.com, I think this was the least attractive to him, the Bob Lewis, and that's kind of the way it played out. There were a couple of horses in here I think could have moved themselves into a position to be considered players in the 3-year-old division. Certainly Shiver Me Timbers had a little bit of life on the resume, but particularly Peace, I thought, if that one stepped forward. But neither of those really showed up to do anything in particular. Shiver Me Timbers winds up 7th. Peace winds up 5th. We'll watch him come into the stretch here, and it's the number 4, Lambo. Flavian Prat on board, 8-1. Ayacera, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the number 1 runs second at 9-2. That was a horse John White talked yesterday. Was getting a little bit of attention from the Sheets players. That one was 8-1 on the morning line and did come down a few ticks, as John kind of anticipated, because of the buzz surrounding Ayacera. But no match for the winner in here, Lambo. Lambo, 3 starts prior to this, had just broken the maiden last time. The career so far, 52 buyer, 73 buyer, broke the maiden last time with an 81 buyer, and yesterday got an 86. So the numbers are moving in the right direction. But, as we kind of talked yesterday, going into the race, it didn't seem like it was inspiring much juice on the 3-year-old scene. Whereas I think there are some live players in Southern California on the 3-year-old scene this year, but they didn't really show up in the Bob Lewis yesterday.
Yeah, I agree there. California, they do have a lot for the Derby point system, but, this is another Derby point system. And Lambo, if you listen to Stakes Preview this weekend, I was high on this horse, but, I just think for the rest of the 3-year-old division, I think there's a little bit more experience and better horses than what we saw in this field. But Flavian Prat, that was a very nice effort there, wire to wire in that race. And everyone thinks about the Ortiz brothers and Gaff Leon as the young guns and really successful young jockeys. But Flavian, he's been on fire, and especially last year in 2017, he had a big year, and he's off to a great start in 2018.
The kid out there too, Evan Roman, the apprentice, is doing well out there. Yeah, that a good point, because watching East Coast racing the way we do, some of these jockeys may float a little bit under the radar, but there are some nice young guys out there in Southern California. We'll take a look at the San Pasquale. I mentioned it earlier. Potentially the thoroughbred poll could see a little bit of a change coming out of this, the NTRA poll, because the San Pasquale will be the number 3 Accelerate winning. The third choice at 7-2. The favorite was Pavel at 2-1. That one will run 4th. The second choice was Muptahij. I like Muptahij. Muptahij is the number 2 horse, winds up running 3rd in here for Bob Baffert, and what they said was probably a prep for Dubai. But Accelerate, who, I thought was a real contender in this race, comes out of a second-place finish in the San Antonio behind Giant Expectations last time. Giant Expectations eventually went to Florida to race in the big one last week. But you look at Accelerate, there was a string of triple-digit buyers showing up on the past performances underneath. So this is one of those horses that can show up on any given day and run very, very well, run very big. Accelerate yesterday, it was, 101, another triple-digit buyer figure. To me, that one getting away to $9 and change price. Like I say, Muktahi's kind of appealed to me. Beyond that, Accelerate with the triple-digit buyers I thought was live in here. So a little bit of value perhaps at $9.40 for Accelerate, and we'll see if that one can kind of move up in that NTRA poll when it comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, and Accelerate, Muktahi and Pavel were the top three that I thought were going into the race, and the betting odds were there. But Muktahi, I thought, ran okay. I thought he's run better in his career, of course, but I think going to Dubai is not a bad move either. He could be competitive in that race. But nice ride by Victor and Accelerate there. And anytime you can get $9 on that horse with triple-digit buyer, that's definitely a good betting race.
Yeah, it was again a nice, and it was a nice older division. That we think of the older division more on the East Coast, perhaps over the past few years. But the West Coast has some solid performers. Two of them, however, ran last week. So it kind of took a little of the life out of this event. But again, with horses like Accelerate and Muktahi, nice race yesterday in the San Pasquale. All right, we will take our next break. When we come back, we will take a look at some of the action for today. We did a little review. Now we'll do a little preview, a little handicapping for Sunday afternoon coming up right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN.
Welcome back on this Sunday morning. Racing Across America, Seth Merrow and Sully Crotty. Just did a little stakes review. Top of the show, we talked with Mark Henning. Strike Power looked great yesterday in the Swale. We talked a little bit about a couple other of his recent first-time starter winners who have what look like nice futures ahead as well. Speaking of future, we'll take a look at this afternoon. Before we take a look at a real handicapping look, both Sully and I have some ideas for this afternoon, but just wanted to tout you also to pay a little bit of attention to Santa Anita this afternoon. 12:32. Boy, they must have an early. Oh, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm looking. 12:32 is the fourth race. I'm thinking, how is this? Yes, everybody wants to be done by the Super Bowl today. But the fourth race at Santa Anita, 12:32 their time, which is about 3:30 our time in Las Virgenes. And you know, these are 3-year-old fillies going a mile. The 3-year-old fillies at this time of year, the 3-year-old males are playing into the Triple Crown. The 3-year-old fillies are playing into potentially races like the Santa Anita Oaks, but then, of course, the Kentucky Oaks as well. And for us, Alabama and Coaching Club American Oaks, perhaps. And in this Santa Anita race, I think there's one that you certainly want to keep your eyes on going forward. We're going back to the Starlet at Los Alamitos on December 9th. The number 3 horse here is going to be Dream Tree, 2-5 favorite for trainer Bob Baffert. Wins off by a chart margin of over 3 lengths. Dream Tree, this was the 3rd career start, the 2nd stakes win, 3rd win overall, so 3 for 3, and just seems to be improving in that the first 2 starts were nose wins, whereas this one pulls away and wins, again, by 3 1/4 lengths. You know, looking at the 6-horse field in the Las Virgenes, this is clearly the horse to beat. 3-5 on the morning line, and again, does look like the one that this race completely goes through. So I'm not sure what kind of a betting event it is. Maybe you can suss out a little something to go in another direction. You know, there's a couple. I mean, Steph being Steph, I think has potentially an opportunity to upset. 13 Squared is the other Baffert. You always have to pay attention to those uncoupled entry kinds of horses. But it looks like Dream Tree is the real deal. And as I say, first step along the 3-year-old filly trail, just worth watching this afternoon on that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we just watching the replay of the Los Al race, the horse looked phenomenal. And there is other speed in this race. You said Steph being Steph, I think, is going to be a key horse in this race. Is that horse going to go? And Dream Tree is going to take a nice stalking role again that we saw at Los Al, or is Dream Tree going to try to get to the lead? 13 Square is going to go a little bit and take a nice stalking role as well. But Dream Tree definitely is the horse to beat.
And again, that'll be about 3:30 our time. That'll go off the 4th race at Santa Anita. All right, let's get some ideas. Let's make some people some money this afternoon, Sully. We'll go back and forth and take a look at some of the action. Sully looked at Gulfstream for the handicapper support sheet that you can find on the website today. I'm going to kind of bounce around to some different tracks because I'm in here this afternoon with OTB Live, so I also looked at Oak Lawn and Tampa. I have an Aqueduct thought as well, but let's kick things off. Race number 2 at Gulfstream today. Maiden claimers, 12-5 tags. They will go 3/4 of a mile. What did you think in the second at Gulfstream?
I went 7-1 at 3 and 5 here. I think 7 is a nice play off the layoff at 15-1. It has not run since December 2015, and the works they're standing out early in the year and late December. Going out for Antonio Sano, who's winning at a 6% clip, but he's been close. He has 14 places, and the 14. Most of them have been close to wins. They've been close to the wire or length to 2-length losses. But I like betting horses off the layoff. Antonio Sano winning on the layoff. He's winning at a nice 13% clip as well. And then when the horse goes from the grass to the main track, he's winning at a 17% clip. So I think at 15-1 with the nice little layoff and the works are standing out a little bit. Why not give this horse a shot? And especially in the money, but why not put the horse on top? Number 1 is commissioned. 7-2 on the morning line. This horse loves the Gulfstream track. He's over 12 in the career, but has the most experience, I think, in this maiden field. There are some other horses that have started close to the same number as this horse, but the 5 races at Gulfstream and has run on the money 4 times really stands out. Did lose by a neck early in September, but the other 2, they've been distant second and thirds at Gulfstream Park. But the GP West did no running at all. It's going to be interesting to see how the horse improves off of, you know, because we're getting a weather report that it's raining down there. But the horse does have experience in the slop as well. Definitely a horse to keep an eye on. And number 3 is the morning line favorite, Gamer Girl. Horse does have a ton of speed for Joseph Orsino. He's had a nice meet as well and a nice year down in Florida. Horse is 2 places in 2 starts at Gulfstream Park as well. Going to be interesting to see how the horse adjusts to the slop and has run in the money once in the slop. That is what we're getting down at Gulfstream right now, a little bit of rain, so it's going to be wet. But in the second race, I went 7-1, 3 and 5.
And maybe the guys can show the Gulfstream feed there. It is overcast. It doesn't look like it's raining right now, but it looks like it's overcast. We have it on our monitor here. and it's a wide shot, so I can't really tell. Yeah, there you go. It could be. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's raining, but it looks like the potential is there. But we'll keep our eyes on that as certainly we get closer and the afternoon progresses.
Moving on to Aqueduct's race number 6, 1 mile claiming race. For 4-year-olds, going a mile for $34,000.
I made this my play of the day on the handicappers report sheet today. I said box up the top 3. It's one of those where you have to kind of take a look and make sure there's going to be enough value because it's an 8-horse field. Certainly, if there's scratches, that could suck some of the life out of the play. But I have it 4, 8, 5, and 1. I'll box up the 4, 8, and the 5. Again, if it makes sense, we're getting 2 to 1, 5 to 2, and 7 to 2. So we're right on the borderline of this making some sense. But Special Story gets some class relief off the last start for Robertino Diodoro. Horse came in from Southern California, moved into the Diodoro barn, and tried much stiffer, much saltier $50,000 starter allowance runners last time. Didn't show much, part of a beaten favorite entry. The move to this 25 conditional is just clearly more in the wheelhouse. Owner Michael Dubb, obviously you pay attention to everything he sends out. So have Special Story on top. Dynamax Prime in the 2nd spot. Hasn't been seen since Saratoga. That is the big question mark. But I like the class move. I've said many times, state-bred allowance into open claimers, open conditional claimers, even better. That's a potent move. This horse had been in state-bred allowance the last 2 starts, the New York Derby and the Albany. Again, there's question marks on the layoff. The George Weaver runner might need a start to kind of get back in form, but it may be mitigated by the fact that this horse is getting some class relief today. So if there's any level of fitness and a nice string of workouts said that is possible, Dynamax Prime should contend clearly with this bunch. And then Pretentious in the 3rd spot. Another one coming off a long layoff, but another one that I think with the class relief will be okay. Daddy's Home is a horse that I had in the 4th spot, gets claimed and moves up. Maybe have a little more recency than the 2 I put in off the layoff. So that's the one that has the chance to upset my apple cart. But again, I think I have the trio that can get it done. We'll, again, keep our fingers crossed, hope our odds hold up, hope we don't get any scratches to pull the life out of this race. But I'll box up my top 3 in the 6th at Aqueduct, 4, 8, 5, and 1. All right, Sully, an idea in the 8th race at Gulfstream, an optional claimer, non-winners of one other than. They're going to go a mile and a 16th. Your thoughts in the 8th?
4, 2, 3, and 7. Number 4 is Mississippi, the horse that, before the horse got taken out of the Holy Bull yesterday, I had that horse on top. But Mississippi going out for Mark Cassidy, Julian Leparoux, is the horse to beat in this race. Excuse me. Last time out, lost at the wire by 3/4 of a length. In an optional claiming race here at Gulfstream Park. Excuse me. And then Mark Cassidy, he's had a nice meet as well. I just think the horses race against much better. But another horse that does stand out is Navistar. 7-2 on the morning line. This horse has raced against some pretty good horses. The horse beat He Takes Charge, has beat Locomotion, came in 2nd to Mask by 3 lengths. But that was down at Belmont Park. Mask is, a very successful horse. And I think at 7-2 with Johnny V, Todd Pletcher, the connections are there. The $900,000 buyer tag stands out, especially for this horse. Along with Mississippi, $700,000 buyer tag. I think this is a nice horse at a nice price that is going to run a big race. Number 2 is 5 to 1. That's Storm Runner. Louis Sias is going out for Dale Romans. And Dale's, he's the last couple weeks, he's been winning a lot of races, and he's been competitive in a lot of races as well. This horse, last time out, I'm going to put a little cross through that. Is getting experience at the distance. Ran at Churchill at the distance in a maiden special weight. Won that race by 5. Jumps up to the optional claiming field. Runs at 8th place. So I think the outside stall really wasn't what the horse was looking for. I think the inside stall is going to help the horse as well. And you get Louis Sias aboard. As I said, Dale Romans, the connections are all there with a nice, and you get a nice ride by Louis Sias as well. That really makes things interesting at 5 to 1. In the 8th race, I went 4, 2, 3, and 7.
Yeah, Cove Blue, the 7-horse, Dale was on with us the day that horse ran and kind of touted the horse to viewers. So folks walked away with potentially a $12 winner with Cove Blue. That 8th at Gulfstream was like a little stakes race potentially for 3-year-olds. Nice little race on the Gulfstream card.
All right, Tampa Bay's 4th race. It's a mile on the grass. Nice little starter optional claiming race for 21.5.
I have this one 8, 2, 5, and 7. I'm going to call it a little tri-box kind of a play. Again, another where you have to look at the odds and hope there aren't any scratches because it's just going to make sense the way it is. But Bramble Queen on top. The 2 wins most recently have numbers that stack up well with this bunch. That looks like the logical play on top. But Vindicta, I think, with the return to the turf last time, with some experience under the belt, tried the turf a little earlier in the career, didn't show much, but just seems to have been getting better. So the move to the turf last time with the experience proved to be fruitful. A nice second-place finish just behind my top pick. So I think this one's right in the mix as well. And then Joni Marie in the 3rd spot, behind my top 2, running 4th behind my top 2 last time. But I think, again, it has some nice early speed and just seems to be on the improve. Speeding Starlet, I debated Joni Marie and Speeding Starlet and going 3 horses, maybe a 3-horse exacta box. I just could not separate. I think Joni Marie and Speeding Starlet are really evenly matched. And I tried to parse out, couldn't quite parse. So I eventually went for that tri-box to use all of them. And as I say, check, hope there aren't any scratches. I think with the odds, it'll be worth taking a little bit of a shot. If you had a better opinion for the win side, maybe a key and play the others underneath. But I'm going to do a little tri-box in race number 4 at Tampa Bay Downs. 8, 2, 5, and 7. Gulfstream's 10th race today, a 6,250 plain vanilla claimer. It's a 1-turn mile. Your thoughts on the 10th at Gulfstream?
This is different from the one sheet that went out this morning. I made a couple changes. I went 10, 7, 1, and 3. Same horse on top. Number 10 is Russian Greek. Nick Wires is aboard, and the horse is loaded with speed. We saw that speed the last 3 starts. The horse lost as an even money favorite last time out at the wire by a neck, but 2 back, the horse wins by almost 11 lengths. That was very impressive win, and the horse almost wins by 7 lengths, 3 back. So I think the horse is in great form. I think the mile distance is a nice distance for the horse, even though that 10 length, 11 length win came at a mile and a 16th, but was at Penn National in a claiming 8 race. Is now in a claiming 6.25 here at Gulfstream. I think fits in nicely here from the outside stall. As I said, should have won last time out, potentially going for 4 wins in a row at a nice 3-to-1 price. I don't think the horse will stay at 3-to-1, but if the horse stays anywhere around 3-to-1, that's going to be a nice price for Russian Greek. Number 7 is Summer Scamp, 8-to-1 on the morning line. I think has the potential to run a huge race. It's cutting back in distance. It's going the 1-turn mile after running the 2-turn 7.5 furlong and the 2-turn mile and the 16th at Gulfstream. Has Louis Saez aboard, and I think the cutback with the speed and the horse getting to the lead has the potential to have a nice 8-to-1 score on top with Louis Saez up. So again, I think with the cutback and the experience the horse has at the track, has the place and a show in 3 starts, went over the GP West as well, won 2 races there. I think 8-to-1, you can't really ignore the horse. Number 1 is Model Citizen, is the morning line favorite right now at 5-2. Jorge Navarro trains the horse, another speed horse from the rail. The horse had the outside stall the last 2 starts, came in distance 3rd in a last place effort in a claiming 20, drops into this claiming 62.5. I think the rail is going to help the horse with the speed it has. The last time the horse did have close to the rail, came in 4th, and before that start came in 2nd. So I think the rail and the early speed here and the meet Jorge Navarro's having, winning at a 23% clip, is a horse that you need to use underneath, but I think there's better horses in the race at a better price than the 5-2 morning line favorite here in race number 10. Race 10, 10, 7, 1, and 3. The Oaklawn 7th race, a 6 furlong maiden special weight for $75,000.
And it's hard for me to recommend what to do here because I'm 5 deep, but one's on the AE list. So take a look at this and just make your decisions on how you might want to play it because there are a couple in here that may offer some value. In this 7th at Oaklawn, race 7 at Oaklawn, 8, 13, 6, 2, and 10. Again, the 13 is the first horse on the AE list, so we'll see if that one gets in. But the 8 on top, Crimson Creed, 6-1 on the morning line. I wouldn't be shocked if that floated up. I wouldn't be shocked if it went either way, because the betting public may be savvy enough to be onto what I'm looking at. But this is a horse that debuted up at Saratoga. Ran an okay fourth for the career debut in a field of 10. So the top half of the field, it was early in the Saratoga meet, hasn't been seen since. But Jimmy Creed, excuse me, is the sire. I like Jimmy Creed as kind of a sneaky sire, precocious runner. So the second start for Ingrid Mason, a little bit of a layoff, obviously, since Saratoga. But I think there's a little bit of precociousness in the breeding that says, worth maybe taking a little bit of a shot here. Crimson Creed, the number 8 on top. Again, race 7 at Oaklawn. 13, the first horse on the AE, just logical off the last start, a near miss on the move to Oaklawn Park. Golden Rose has a couple of nice starts number-wise as compared to this bunch. Has some nice positional speed, adds the blinkers today. Party Club for Wayne Lucas certainly has the numbers to contend with this bunch. And then the number 10, Buskin' for a Livin', by McLean's Music. Like my top pick, I think there's a little breeding there that says in the second career start, this one has the potential to move forward. 15-1 on the morning line, so there's some value there. So again, in the 7th at Oaklawn, the 8 and the 10 are both interesting to me at what I think will, by post time, be some good value. And then I have others in the mix as well. We'll have to watch scratches. Again, I'm 5 deep, so it's hard for me to recommend some kind of play there. But hopefully scratches will reduce us down a little bit, either keeping the also eligible out or pulling that one in. Maybe one of our others comes out of the mix. But in the 7th at Oaklawn, 8, 13, 6, 2, and 10. All right, we'll take our last break. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up on this Sunday morning. Stay tuned. We're back, and as you saw from the slate there, I want to thank our friends at Gulfstream Park. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. Also want to remind you there's a win-a-bet contest here at the Clubhouse Racebook this afternoon. Come on down and enjoy all the football festivities, the pre-games and whatnot, and all the racing action here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany with a $100 win-a-bet contest. Do want to remind you also, we will continue to do so throughout the week. The bankroll returns on Friday. I'll have a bankroll. Folks will get randomly selected. Go to the website for information on how you can get your chance to participate in the bankroll this coming Friday here at the Clubhouse Racebook. All right, another Racing Across America Sunday edition in the books. Seth Merrill, Sully Crotty. Sully, good luck this afternoon.
Absolutely, you too.
Particularly with your 15-1 shot there.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then the 15-1 and Eagles win, that'd be great. It'd be a nice day.
There you go. All right, we're going to wrap things up for Racing Across America for Sunday morning. I'll be back in about an hour or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in about an hour.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.
She has really rebounded.